Andrew again here. We're going to go through a road route and how to drive and specifically how to shift properly, how to deal with certain traffic situations. So yeah, first things first, before we take up on the road, because you don't want to fail, make sure you put your seatbelt on. Very important, okay? So we're going to put it on here, making sure we're nice and safe. And we always start out in fourth gear when we start out in our trucks, okay? So if you're an automatic, obviously you don't need to worry about that, but I'm going to be going over a lot of shifting stuff. If you are going through the automatic course, pay attention to all the other stuff besides shifting, because that stuff's still going to apply to you. But the manual vehicles, we always start out in fourth gear. Same thing like in the skills course, I like you all in fourth gear. Idle speed in the skills course, idle speed when you're leaving. Once you hit the road, obviously we're going to start giving it some throttle, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and push the clutch all the way to the floor, and I'm going to put it in gear. Now, seat adjustment's very important. You can see I'm kind of stretched out a little bit. I'm actually on my tippy toes a little bit to get my clutch all the way to the floor. In order for this not to scratch when you put it in gear, all the way to the floor really isn't enough. You actually want to try to push that clutch through the floorboard. But you want to be stretched out in order to do that. That way, when you're driving down the road, you're not crammed up towards the wheel, and you're only tapping the clutch about 25% of the way down when you're shifting. That's going to make it smooth for you, okay? So once we're in fourth gear, I'm going to go ahead and release both of my brake valves here. If you're Class B, you'll only release your tractor, but we are running Class A right now. I'm going to let my windows here so we don't have any wind. And I'm going to go ahead and when you're waiting here, I want to make the clutch pedal even with the brake pedal while we're waiting. That way, when it's time to go, I let go of the brake pedal, I let go of the clutch, it's going to grab immediately, okay? You don't want to let go of the brake with your clutch all the way down to the floor. That'll make things pretty difficult for you. So off the brake, let go of the clutch slow, and it's going to be grabbing right away. And this is something you really should be practicing when you're in the skills yard too. That way when you get on the road, you have good clutch control. All right, so coming out of our skills yard here, the way that we do get out is we're going to go through this big opening to the right. So I keep the wheel nice and straight as we're getting out of the straight line bay. And once I see the signal light needle with about the last set of cones, I'm going to cut it to the right. Go through this open bay. Again, idle speed in the lot. I do not want throttle in our yard, please. All right, so coming out of the driveway, we're going to turn right. Okay, so I will put my right signal on. And we do have a tree up here, which is kind of annoying, but we just got to make sure that that side of the road is clear. And before I turn, I also want to make sure the other side of the road is clear, okay? I don't want to start making this turn with a car coming around this corner here to the right, because then I'm going to have to cut it back in and go in that ditch. I do not want that. So both sides of the road need to be clear on a corner like this. I'm going to creep out. Looks like we're clear here. We're clear on the right. I'm going to use the entire road now. I'm going to go way out here to the middle, and I'm going to start turning right to make sure that our tires don't go into that hole into the ditch. All right. And from this stop sign, we're going to turn left. So now I'll turn my left signal on. Watching my trailer around the corner. Looks like we're good. I'm going to make sure I stop behind the limit line and the sign, whichever comes first. So complete stop at my stop sign, looking left. I'm going to creep out so I can look to the right. And I'm going to go straight out again, using the entire road, turning left. And there is no shifting while you're turning. Both hands on the wheel. Straight out the wheel. Once we complete our turn, I can start shifting. All right, so now going fourth to fifth, I'm just going to tap the clutch to neutral, tap the clutch to gear. It's all about timing, okay? And I'm only pressing the clutch down about this far. Very important. Splitter goes up immediately in fifth gear. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. Now we're in sixth gear. Both hands go back to the wheel. RPM's up to about 15. Going straight up to seventh gear. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. Very important that you're not pressing the clutch all the way down to the floor during these shifts. If you do, it's going to be extremely rough. It's going to be extremely difficult. You should only be pressing that clutch about that far down when you're upshifting, okay? So now I'm coming up to a stop sign. I'm going to turn right at the stop sign. Right signal goes on. RPM's down to 10 for my first downshift. Clutch to neutral. Gas it all the way as high as it'll go. Clutch into gear, okay? Bring it down to 10. Gas it as high as it goes. Makes that very easy. Clutch to the floor. We always come to our stops in sixth, okay? Complete stop. Selector down. I can see I've got quite a bit of traffic here to my left. I'm going to start back into fourth gear. And I do want both sides of the road to make this corner. So this green truck, him being there, I can't make the corner with him there, okay? So I need to wait for him to make this corner. I don't want to end up in that ditch to the right. So I'm going to let him do his thing. All right, we start creeping out now. Not sure what this truck is doing here, but he is struggling with his shifting. Is that a school? Yeah, that's, don't go there. I'm going to creep out a little bit here. I do have a car coming, so I'm going to stop. He came around the corner. I'm still clear on the left. You got to have both sides of this road clear because we do not want to end up in that ditch. So important. After that UPS truck, I am going to go. As he's coming, I'm going to take the space behind him because what I want. You see, I'm using the other side of the road, keeping my trailer tires out of that ditch. No shifting around the corner. Good. Clutch out, clutch in. Both hands on the wheel, split selector up. Clutch out, clutch in. And I'm going to be turning left up here. I'm in 6th gear, so I don't need to downshift. We like taking our turns in 6th when you're coming up and you're not stopped. So checking, making sure no cars are coming here. Looking to my left. I want to go about to the middle of the intersection, then turn left. So I don't impede that truck's area there with my trailer. Beautiful. All right, checking my trailer tire all the way around the corner there. Not hitting anything, and signal goes off after the turn. 6th gear going to 7th gear. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. Now the best spot to shift at is in between 13 and 1500 on those RPMs. If we're bringing it all the way up to 20 on your upshifts, you are making life a little bit more difficult on yourself. Up here I can see I do have a through intersection I want to check. So as I'm coming up here, I'm just going to make a quick look with my head, making sure it's safe. That is a traffic check. That is required. Now here, we're going to do what's called a roadside stop and start. So your examiner will tell you to pull over as if you needed to check something at the rear of the vehicle. But you got to make sure you don't do that next to a fire hydrant, okay? So I'm going to put my signal on. I can see there's a fire hydrant here. I'm going to start coming over to the right. I'm going to be stopping next to this curb, not too close. You don't want to hit it. Want to be maybe about 2-3 feet off of it. It's fine. Clutch to the floor. Make sure you're not blocking any of the driveways. And stopping here. For a roadside stop and start, we put it in neutral. Split selector goes down. Signals off. 4 ways go on. And we set our brakes. Okay. Now, we're not broken down. This is checking something at the rear of the vehicle, so you don't need to say anything about the triangles. You don't need to do any of that. You just like this. Then your examiner will tell you when it's safe to do so. Continue on with your test. You say, okay, cool. So you turn your hazards back off. Foot on the brake. Release both of your brake valves. Left signal goes on, clutch to the floor, put it back into 4th gear, and I'm going to check my mirrors, so I'm going to merge back into traffic. Letting go of the clutch, no throttle needed. Once we start going, give a little bit of throttle, make it smooth. There we go, signal off, clutch out, clutch in. Splitter goes up immediately. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. Now we're in 6th gear. We're going to find 7th gear, clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. Both hands back on the wheel. Got a stop sign coming up. We are going to be turning right. Now, you don't need to make traffic checks on every driveway. It's just streets, okay? So we haven't had any more streets. Right signal goes on. Checking my mirror. Make sure nobody's squeezing the inside. Downshift to 6. Stopping behind the limit line or the stop sign, whichever comes first. They're about in the same spot. Split selector goes down. This turn, we can actually make it without going on the other side of the road, but we are in a little bit of a hill. So I'm going to let go of the clutch, make it even with the brake pedal. Let go of the brake once I get it even with it. That way I had no rollback there. That's the only way you can do that. I'm going to go right after this Nissan here. I'm going to go straight out as far as I can and then turn right before I cross the other side of the road. As you can see, our trailer, we have plenty of room on this corner. Signal goes off. Clutch out, clutch into 5th gear. Split selector goes up. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear to 6th. 6th to 7th now. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. Both hands on the wheel after you're done with your shifts, which is what you want. Periodically, I'm checking my mirrors, seeing if anybody's tailgating me, somebody's going to fly around me. It happens. You always want to know what's going on behind you. I'm going to go to 8th now, neutral, clutch to gear. So we have a green light here. We're going to continue straight ahead. This is a through intersection again, so my head's going to go left, head's going to go right. On a light like that, don't slam on your brakes there. As long as your tractor gets past the first limit line before it turns red, you're safe. You shouldn't accelerate to make a light, but you should also not slam on brakes. I'd have somebody rearing me if I'd stopped on that one. Now, we got a lot of traffic checks on this one, okay? So we got to make sure we got a road here on the right. I'm going to kind of tilt my head and look. There's traffic there. We got a road to my left here. Going to look to the left here, make another traffic check. Right here, I'm going to look left. I'm going to look right. We got 2 more roads here. You have to make traffic checks on everything that's a street. Not driveways, but anything that's a street, you need to look. We got a road here to my right, a road here to my left. I'm making sure I make those traffic checks. Make it obvious to your examiner. If your eyeballs are moving, great. If he doesn't see your head tilt, you're probably losing points. Looking down the road here. Good. Speed limit on this road is 50 miles an hour. I want to try to maintain at least 45. Right now I'm ninth gear, 45. Ninth gear is fine. Also, you could be in eighth gear and achieve this speed as well. It's totally up to you. Traffic check to my right here. Awesome. Yeah, speed limit 50. You can see there to the right. Looking at my left, looking at my right. More traffic checks. Another road here to the right. Your neck will probably hurt a little bit driving down this road, but you got to be making these traffic checks. It's what the DPS wants you to do. You got to do it. You're being graded on it. So this FedEx truck's coming back in front of me. Good. Traffic check here to the left. We're good. All right. And normally when you're driving, you want to make sure that you're not running over the white line on your right. As you can see, I'm staying in my lane. If you touch that white line, you do lose points. Up here, right now, the way the road's pretty messed up here, so I am going to go over that white line on purpose because of how messed up the road is, because I don't want to damage our vehicle. On your test, if the road is still like that, I'll ask you to do that, and you will not lose points for it. But if the road's, if you watch this video a year down the line, whatever, and the road's fine, I won't ask you to do that, and you got to stay off that white line. So we are making a left at that intersection in front of us. So I'm going to slow down the vehicle to 10 on the RPMs, clutch to neutral. Gas it as high as it'll go. Clutch to 8. Back off the clutch, slowing it down to 10. Clutch to neutral. Gas it as high as it'll go. Clutch to 7. At this point in time, I am going to run over this white line a little bit because I do not want to deal with how bumpy the road is here. And that's okay on your test if the road's messed up, and I'll let you know. And I'm going to get one more downshift to 6. That's where I want to be. And you got to stop with the stop sign limit line up here. Make sure you stop behind the limit line, otherwise you lose points, and make a complete stop. Whenever you come to a complete stop, you should be saying splitter down, reset to 4th. That's the phrase. All right, I don't want to run over any of the cars here, so I am going to go straight ahead and line it up my shoulder with what I don't want to hit, which is going to be the double yellow line right there. Start turning, watching my trailer and my bottom convex mirror. Perfect. Straighten out my wheel, signal goes off, and I'm going to grab a shift. In 5th gear now. We're going to continue straight after this stop sign. Again, nice smooth stop behind the limit line. Clutch to the floor. I'm going to put my split selector down and reset. Oh, it's already down because I was in 4th gear. Off I go. RPMs to about 13. The first shifts are better if you shift lower. 12, 13 for the first 2 shifts. Splitter up, 6th gear. Speeding up. 7th gear. Now I'm going to start ripping it all the way up to 15 on my shifts. So remember, your shift to 4th and 5th and 5th to 6th. If you shift at 12, 13, it does make your life a little bit easier. 8th gear, I'm going to be turning left at the bottom of the hill. Downshift to 7th. Checking my mirrors as I come in. People get impatient. I want to make sure nobody's cutting on the inside of me. Beautiful. RPM's down to 10. Clutch to neutral. Gas it all the way up. Clutch to 7th. Nice smooth, or to 6, I'm sorry. Nice smooth stop behind the limit line here. Checking left, checking right. It's my turn to go if that truck lets me. I'm going to go straight out and start turning left, watching my rear tires in my mirror. I'm going to start grabbing some shifts now. Blinker off, out, and to 5th gear. Split selector goes up. Clutch out, clutch into 6th. Clutch out, clutch into 7th. Now I'm going to miss this next gear on purpose to show you how to fix it. So 7th to 8th, let's say I go to shift and I do it too slow. Clutch out, oh, I don't know where to go. Oh yeah, it's not going to go, okay? You have to rev it up just a little bit. A little blip on the throttle to about 10, 11, and it'll catch for you, okay? So that's how you correct your gear. A lot of times on your test, if you correct it quickly like that, you won't even lose points, okay? Left signal is going to go on. I'm checking my left mirror now. 8th gear to 9th. Clutch out, clutch in. Merging in. Signal should go off. And the speed limit right now, because we do have construction, is 55. I recommend just keep it at 9th. It helps keep you from speeding. I'm going to keep that needle between 50 and 55 right now. If this test is later on and it's no longer in construction, the speed limit's 70. At that point, you need to grab 10th gear if the speed limit's 70. You see speed limit 55, work zone. If you speed on your test, it could be an automatic fail. So I recommend leaving it in ninth. That way you don't have that issue. So I see a bridge is coming up here on your test. It's really good to call out your bridge height. If you don't, your examiner will ask you the bridge height. If you're wrong, you lose points. If you know it, you don't. But if you call out the bridge height, they don't even have to ask you. So it does make things a little bit easier for you. So as I'm coming up here, I'm waiting until my eyesight allows me to actually see what it is. Again, speed limit's 55. I'm keeping it between 50 and 55. Looks like it's 16.8. Okay. I'm going to make a left lane change to the right, checking my mirrors, or to the left, I mean. Now I'm going to do a right lane change, again, checking your mirrors, making sure we're safe. Your examiner will have you do that on your test, but if there's a lot of traffic, a lot of times they won't. Just depends on safety. We try to work in the lane changes where we can. All right, so as we come to the top of the hill here, we are going to be exiting Broad. I'm going to put my right signal on. I don't want to get over the solid white line. Got to wait till it breaks up. Okay, it's starting to break up now, so now I'm going to start getting over, checking my mirrors, making sure there's no vehicles there. Awesome. The signal goes off. We can see the speed limit sign says 35, which means we should be in 8th gear for that. So I'm in 9th right now. I'm going to use my brakes and drop my RPMs down to 10. So important you do that. And don't grab your clutch. It's brake only there. And then you just tap the clutch to neutral, get off of the clutch, and gas it as high as it'll go, and clutch to 8. It's a very common issue I see with people is instead of slowing down to 10, they just grab the clutch. You don't know what the transmission's spinning at if you grab the clutch. So you need to use your brakes only. You should not be on the clutch a lot on your test. Only when you're shifting and only when you're stopping, okay? Checking the mirrors, making sure I'm safe. So again, I'm going to be downshifting for this left turn coming up here. I'm going to stay in the left lane. There are multiple left lanes, but you are allowed to stay on the inside left lane because you're turning left here and a left at the next light. So neutral, gas it up all the way past 15, and clutch to 7. So right now my RPMs are at 13. I'm not going to grab my clutch. I'm going to use my brakes. Down to 10. And I'm going to tap the clutch and get off it immediately. And once I get to neutral, past 15, and clutch into 6th. All right? If you're holding that clutch all the time, you are doing something wrong and you're going to be messing up, okay? So that's a rule. You can never be holding that clutch a lot unless you're coming to a stop like I am right now, okay? Now I can go to neutral and I'm going to reset the 4th. That way I'm ready to go on the light. And after I reset the 4th, instead of my, if you want to look down here at my feet, instead of my foot being all the way down, which I put it in gear, I have to. Now that I'm resting, I want my left foot to come almost even with my right foot. I want to be resting like this. That way when the light turns green, I let go of the brake and I let go of the clutch and the truck grabs right away. If you're all the way down to the floor and you let go of the brake and you're going slow from the floor, you've got a good period of time where you're going to roll back if you're on a hill, and that's very unsafe. So after you put it in 4th gear, I want you to be resting with your clutch foot and your brake foot almost even with each other while you're waiting. That way the light turns green, I let go of the brake, then I let go of the clutch slowly, and the truck goes right away, and it's going to minimize any rollback that could be an issue, okay? Again, like I said, normally we would be in the outside lane, but since we are turning left to left here, we do allow the inside lane for that, because if we're in the outside lane, it's just cars don't really let us over, okay? On a normal turn, if you're turning left and you're going straight for a long time, there's no special circumstance there. You should be in the outside lane. All right, let go of the brake. The clutch is going to grab right away, which is what we want. Going straight out. Turning nice and wide. Watching my rear tires and coming directly into my left turning lane. Clutch out, clutch in. Split selector goes up. Just barely tapping that clutch, remember. Tap, tap. If you're going down to the floor, you're having issues, I promise you. The only time you push that clutch down to the floor is when you first put the vehicle into gear. Nice smooth stop behind the limit line. And now that we're stopped, the phrase is always split her down, reset to 4th. Clutch pedal even with the brake pedal while we're waiting. Minimize that rollback. So when we're turning, kind of the rule of thumb, so we don't hit stuff, is you want to go straight forward without turning the wheel at all till your shoulder lines up with what you don't want to hit. So in this case, it's going to be that curb up there on the left that you can see. And you can see that curb's kind of chewed up from people hitting that curb. If I take this corner and I start turning right now, my trailer will be going over that curb. And if you hit a curb on your test, I'm letting you know right now, is an automatic failure. So I'm going to be going straight out and turning left once my shoulder is about even with that curb over there that I don't want to hit. And then I also need to come back into the left lane. The rule is left to left, right to right. Okay, so I'm going to let go of the clutch slowly. Vehicle starts going. No shifting on a turn, so I'm going to leave it fourth all the way through, straight out, shoulder with the curb, and now I'm turning. I'm going to come back into the left lane, watching my bottom convex mirror the whole way around, and I'm far away from that curb. All right, clutch out, clutch in, split selector goes up. Clutch out, clutch in, 6th gear. Left signal goes on, we're merging onto the highway again. Clutch out, clutch in to 7th. Clutch out, clutch in to 8th. Checking my mirrors as I merge in. Accelerating all the way to 1500. Signal goes off now. I'm going to 9th gear. Clutch out, clutch in, call out my speed limit, 55 miles an hour. And here, this is pretty easy. We're going to stay in this lane because we're exiting Heritage Parkway. Both hands on the wheel when you're not shifting, also very important. Automatic students, your hands should be on the wheel the whole time because you're not shifting. All right. Exiting Heritage. And at the bottom of the hill, we do have a right curve to Heritage Road. If you keep going straight, it puts you back on the highway, but that's not where we're going. So I'm going to put my right signal on now. Double checking my mirrors again, making sure I'm staying off that white solid line. Braking until I'm at 10 on my RPMs. Clutch to neutral, gas it as high as it'll go. Clutch to 8th. Slow it down to 10, use my brakes. Checking my mirrors again, clutch to neutral, gas it as high as it'll go. Clutch to 7. Now when you gas as high as it goes, your throttle should be to the floor. Down to 10, neutral, throttle to the floor. To 6th gear, it makes it so easy. Checking my mirrors, making sure we're safe. Nobody's trying to do anything crazy, getting around me, straight out. Watching my trailer tire all the way around this curve. I do not want to hit the curb. You hit the curb, you fail. So I'm watching, and I'm clear. Good, I'm going to stay in my right lane now. Signal now goes off. 6 to 7. Tap the clutch to neutral, tap the clutch to gear. Both hands on the wheel. 7th to 8th. Tap the clutch to neutral, tap the clutch to gear. Now we're going around this curve. I want to hug to the right a little bit. That way I don't cross into the other lane. Going to downshift because we're turning right up here. There's 7th. Dropping my RPMs down to 10 again. Clutch to neutral, throttle to the floor. There's 6. Now we're coming up to a light and green light. We're going to be taking the corner in 6th gear. Got my right signal on. And 6th gear idle speed is the perfect speed. You will not stall. Just do not be grabbing the brake as you go around at idle speed. Straight out, turning right once my shoulder's parallel with the curb, coming back to the right lane, and now accelerating through the corner. I'm going to call out my speed limit sign here, which is 45 miles an hour. Signal off. 6 to 7. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. Bring the RPMs up to about 1500 again. Clutch to neutral, clutch to gear. We have some traffic checks coming. I'm going to look to the right, make sure it's safe down this road on Justice Street. Beautiful. All right. I'm in 8th gear. I'm going to go ahead and go to 9th. I said 45. Like I said, at 45, you can keep it in 8th, and you can achieve 40, 45 miles an hour, but I'm going to go to 9th. It's up to you. 8th or 9th gear, I'm okay with either or here. Again, another traffic check. Beautiful. All right. We're clear. Bring the RPMs down to 10. Clutch to neutral, gas it all the way up, and clutch to 8th. Using my brakes, dropping it down to 10 again. Clutch to neutral, gas it all the way up. Don't even think about it. Throttle to the floor, off the throttle, clutch to gear. So smooth, so easy. Down to 10, clutch to neutral, gas it all the way up as high as it'll go, and clutch to 6. Another big mistake I see people make on the downshifts, they bring down to 10, and when they gas it up to try to catch your next gear. They're just like barely on the throttle, and it takes forever to get the RPMs up. They get stressed out. They're trying to come to a stop. They miss it because they didn't rev enough. When you take it out at 10 on your RPMs, mash that throttle all the way to the floor, and then come off of the throttle and just put it in gear. It's super, super easy. But if you're barely just on the throttle, it's not high enough, it's not going, then you get stressed out, the cars are coming up, it's problems. Down to 10 on your RPMs without using the clutch. Then you tap the clutch to neutral, get off of the clutch, throttle all the way to the floor, and then clutch into your downshift gear. It is the easiest way to do it. And when you catch the gear, it's slowing you down because you're catching at a high RPM, which is the point of downshifting. That way to kind of help you slow down. Clutch all the way to the floor, fourth gear, clutch pedal even with the brake pedal, off the brake, off the little bit of throttle, off the clutch, tap out, tap in. And barely tapping the clutch on these upshifts, important as well. Same thing on downshifts. Don't press that clutch down the floor when you're shifting. Tap out, tap in. Tap it to neutral, tap it to gear. Having this gear pattern memorized too is big as well. Knowing where your gears are at. Always think about where you're shifting at before you start the shift. You don't want to go to neutral and think about it. Right now I know I'm an 8th. I know I'm going the 9th. It's up, to the right, and up. I have it figured out, so I'm not going to hesitate in neutral. Out, in. You don't want to go to neutral, then like, oh, where do I go now? Because the timing's going to be off and you will miss your shift. Before you shift, know where you are shifting to. Also, very important. Got another traffic check coming up here on the right. Gonna look left, gonna look right, make it obvious to the examiner. I don't want to lose any points for silly things. Always know what gear you're in. I'm in 9th gear, holding about 45 miles an hour. I've got another intersection up here coming. I'm going to be making my traffic checks, making it obvious to my examiner so they know that I made that traffic check so they don't dock me. Looking left, looking right. And up here, we are going to be making a right turn. I'm going to start slowing down. Right signal goes on. RPM's down to 10. Tapping the clutch to neutral. Mashing the throttle all the way to the floor. And tapping to 8th. Getting on the brake pedal again. No clutch at this time. Down to 10. Tap the clutch to neutral. Get off the clutch. All the way up. And 7th. This corner here is kind of a curve. It's not really a turn. So you can take it in 6th or 7th. I'm going to take it in 7th. You want to utilize all your space. I'm going to get as close as I can to the curb out here. Watching my trailer tires. Following as wide as I can. I'm going to hug the yellow line here without running it over. And watching my rear tires. So you can see we've got plenty of space. I'm going to get on my throttle now. Signal should now go off. I'm in 7th gear going to 8th. I know that's straight back. Okay, so I know where I'm going before I go there. Tap out. Tap in. Do not go down to the floor on those upshifts. It's too difficult. You're going to have bad timing. It's going to be rough. It's the way you should do it. Tap that clutch. Do not go down to the floor. I see a stop sign coming up here. Dropping my RPMs down to 10. Again, tapping the clutch to neutral. Gassing it all the way up as high as it can go. And then tapping the clutch and putting it in the 7th. If you push the clutch to the floor, it will be rough. My brake. I'm stopping behind the stop sign here. The limit line's up there, but I got to stop behind the stop sign or limit line, whatever comes first. Nice and easy on my takeoff. Now you can shift in an intersection as long as you're not turning, okay? So I can shift in the middle of this intersection. That's fine. Splitter up, around the horn. 6th gear, call it around the horn because we just come up, left, and back to 6th. Good way to remember it. Straight up to 7th. Kind of hold it like a fastball on a baseball. Makes it easy to catch your gear. Hand position does help a lot of things. Going to 8th gear, I know we're straight back, so I'm not going to be pulling back at an angle. I kind of just give a lot of pressure on my fingertips in the front, so I come straight back and I don't pull to the side. And it shouldn't be hard to shift. You can see I'm doing that with my fingertips here. If you're pushing the clutch down to the floor, it'll be hard to shift because that's not the way this truck is designed, okay? Tap the clutch, it should come in and out of gear very, very easily for you. If you're fighting with this shifter, it is because you're doing it wrong. Check yourself. Are you pressing the clutch really deep? That's more than likely going to be your issue. Okay, coming up here, we're going to pretend we've got a railroad track. We usually do it back there a little bit. We'll do it with this white sign. Looking left, looking right. On the engage no truck sign. Cool, we're good. All you do is slow down, don't shift, and look left and right like I did. That's all you do. We are going to be turning left here. Left signal goes on. RPM's down to 10. I want 6th gear. Neutral, rev it all the way up. And I'm in 6th gear. So if this is clear, I can take this corner in 6. If I need to stop, I'm going to 4th. Now I can go really slow in 6. Look at this. I'm in 6th gear. I haven't even grabbed the clutch. You're not going to stall. 6th gear is amazing. And I kind of swing it out here a little bit, going nice and slow. This bus made it easy, and they kind of stopped back there. I could have made it with them up here, but that is nice of them to make it easy. I'll tell them thank you as I come around. I'm going to be watching my trailer tires, following nice and wide. Thank you so much. As you can see with my trailer tires, I would have been fine if he pulled up there as well. But that is always nice to have that little bit of space. If somebody's turning and you're that bus, it's nice for you to stop back like that. It's just courteous. 7th gear, RPM's up to about 15. I'm not revving it up to 20 before I shift. It's up to about 15. Out. And remember that perfect shift point I talked about earlier, between 13 and 15. That is the perfect shift point. All right, we're going to turn my right signal on. I'm going to be turning right into our campus. I'm already at 10 on my RPMs, neutral. Gas it all the way up. And 7th. Breaking it down to 10. Tap the clutch to neutral. Gas it all the way up. And 6th. All right, checking my mirrors as I'm coming in here. Straight out. I want to use maybe the other side of the road a little bit here on this corner. I don't want to go in the ditch. If there's a car there, you're more than welcome to stop and wait for them to clear before you go. And then I'm going to turn my left signal on to turn into our campus. Straight out. Don't hit the fence. Nice and wide, watching my rear tires. And when you're done with your drive, we just kind of pull into the right here, and you stop, and you're going to be finished with your drive at this point here. All right, so yeah, just remember, pressing the clutch down the floor is just a huge mistake I see a lot. Not revving it high enough on downshifts is a huge mistake I see a lot. Yeah, and when you bring it down to 10, grabbing that clutch is a problem. You got to use the brake pedal, get it down to 10, tap the clutch, get to neutral. You should not be riding the clutch in this truck. You should just be tapping it when you're shifting, getting off of it immediately, or you're stopping, and then you're pushing the clutch all the way down to the floor and come to a stop. That's really the only time you ride the clutch is when you're coming to a complete stop, okay? All right, so that's it for the road video. I hope you all are doing well, and let's get you through this.